Thank you very much. Everything has a purpose. When things are used according to their purpose, they become more useful and they become more impactful. You have a picture of a treadmill in front of you. What is its purpose? Treadmill is designed for indoor exercises. It enables people to do exercise even when it rains and snows outside. It is a very, very effective tool for improving cardiovascular health for people who use it. Now, but some people use it for a very different purpose. This person decided to use treadmill as a laundry rack. Now, this is funny because when you're using a laundry rack, you're wasting this a very, very effective machine that is designed for cardiovascular health. And also, we know that there are much cheaper and much more effective tools available for drying your laundry. This is a picture of a car. Car's purpose is getting us from A to B. But some people use car for different purposes too. This person decided to use car as a flower bed. And this person decided to use car as a desk. Now, we know that these people are just being artistic and they are trying to recycle old stuff. But what I want to point out is that there are tools that are available that are much cheaper, much more effective for raising flowers and using as a desk. When things are used according to their purpose, you bring the best out of them. Now, companies have purposes too. This is a purpose statement for a company called Google. Google's purpose is to organize the world's information and make it universally accessible and useful. Now, for the last 27 years, Google has relentlessly pursued this purpose, and they become very, very good at it. Now, they become so good at it that we actually use the company's name to describe what we do when we search something online. What do you say when you search something online? You say you Google it. Another company that has been very, very effective in pursuing their purpose is Grab. Grab's purpose is to drive Southeast Asia forward by creating economic empowerment for everyone. Now, you and I oftentimes depend on this company to move around the city and also get food delivered to our home. Grab has been very, very effective in pursuing its purpose. But notice that there is actually a second element to its purpose. It says it also creates economic empowerment for everyone. Did you know that Grab actually provides jobs to 5 million people throughout Southeast Asia? And research shows that about 1/3 of Grab drivers did not have job prior to becoming a driver for Grab. And also, on average, most Grab drivers double their income after joining Grab as a driver. So you can say that this company has been very effective in fulfilling its purpose. Researchers show that companies that pursue their purpose well are also highly successful. For example, one study examined the relationship between purpose-driven orientation of companies and their financial performance. This study shows that companies that pursue their purpose relentlessly, they were able to increase their investment return by over 1,000% between the period 1996 and 2006, compared to S&P 500, which represent the broad market. Now, this is 8-to-1 ratio. You can say that companies that pursue purpose are highly successful. Purpose matters. But what about purpose for people? Does purpose matter for you and me as well? There are many studies that examine the relationship with purpose and quality of life. I will show you 3 examples. The first example looks at the relationship between having a clear sense of purpose and people's health outcomes. This study shows that people with a strong sense of purpose, they have 46% reduced risk of mortality, 13% reduced risk of sleep problems, and 43% reduced risk of depression. Now, that's a pretty significant improvement in the quality of life. And many of you are students, so let me spell out the benefits for those of you who are students specifically. So one study examined the impact of clear purpose on students' academic performance. This study found that students who have a clear sense of purpose have a higher GPA. They have 113% more likely to stay in college or in school. Not only that, these students have 36% higher completion rate for tedious and challenging math problems. Having a purpose makes you more resilient and more tenacious. And having a purpose also have impact on workers too. One study found that workers who consider their work as calling, meaning that they have a clear sense of purpose, have 22% higher life satisfaction and 36% higher job satisfaction. So purpose matters for people too. Why am I showing you all these statistics? Because I want you to be convinced that purpose matters. The question I want to really address today is that if purpose matters for us, what is purpose? And how do we find purpose? Now, if you look for a dictionary definition of purpose, it says purpose is something like finding reason for existence or finding answers to why we exist. Now, there are a number of different ways to answer that question, why exist, right? We could come up with a religious answer, we could come up with a philosophical answer. But I want to actually share a practical answer. From a practical point of view, every one of you have a purpose in life, and that's different from somebody else. Because your purpose is specific to your life situations and also your gifts and your interests. So, how do we discover that purpose? Or how do we even craft that purpose? And I want to give you 3 key defining characteristics of purpose to help you discover and craft your purpose. First of all, purpose is aspirational. What do I mean by being aspirational? What I mean is that purpose is long-term, and also it is enduring. It is something that we strive for. Purpose is different from goals. Now, goals have a clear destination, and once you reach that destination, you have accomplished the goal, and you move on to a different goal. But purpose is not like that. Purpose is more like that distant star in the horizon that you aim for. It gives you a sense of direction. It keeps you on the right path when you follow that star, right? So it is also gives you something to. It is also something that gives you inspiration. Now, but just like that sailboat will never reach that star, we may never actually accomplish our purpose. Nevertheless, having a purpose or that distant aspirational purpose can give you a sense of direction in your life and help you strive for something that matters. The second characteristic of purpose is that it is fundamentally outward oriented. What do I mean by that? I mean that purpose is not about you. It is not about what you want. Purpose is about the needs of society and how you can make a difference in the world. So for example, let me give you an example here. This is a car. Car's purpose is transport people and goods. Car does not exist for itself. Business is same thing. Business does not exist to satisfy its own needs. Business exists to serve the need of a society. And good purpose statement for people is same. They are outward oriented. They're fundamentally about serving the needs of others. So let me give you a few good purpose statement examples here. So this purpose statement is by Gloria Horsley, who was a founder of Open to Hope. Open to Hope is an organization that cares for people who recently lost their lost ones and grieving. So Gloria's purpose statement is to help people find hope after loss. You all know who this is, Walt Disney. His purpose statement was to make people happy. Wouldn't you say that he did a pretty good job at that, right? And the last one, Denise Morrison, is the CEO of Campbell Soup Company. Her purpose statement is to serve as a leader, live a balanced life, and apply ethical principles to make a significant difference. Now, what is common in all three of these statements? It is that these three people, their purpose statement is fundamentally is not about themselves. They're not self-serving. So let me also give you a third characteristic. The third characteristic of purpose statement is that it is something that is discovered. What do I mean by that? Well, I think purpose is not something that you make up or you just pull out of thin air. It is something that you discover by examining who you are and how you are made. I believe every single one of you is made with a purpose. And your purpose is embedded in who you are and your gifts and your talents and your interests. And you will need to discover this talent by examining our lives carefully. And let me give you 3 aspects of life we can examine in order to find that purpose. The first aspect is that we need to find purpose by looking at our talent or gift. I think we have one missing slide here. But first element is examining our gift or talent. So each one of you has a gift or talent that matters. Now, when I say talent, I don't mean that you have something amazing that makes you #1 in Indonesia. No. I'm saying that each one of you has a certain gift that makes you better in that area than average person out there. For example, when I was growing up, people used to tell me I'm pretty good at explaining complex things in a very simple terms. And I always remember that. The next item in your journey for discovery for purpose is your interest or your passion. Every one of you are wired differently. And you have a certain interest that makes you excited, certain things that makes you tick, right? For example, for me, when people tell me that they understand something because of me, because of my explanation, that really gives me joy. For example, when students tell me whether it is an intellectual matter, whether it is a spiritual matter, when they tell me, Dr. Lee, now I get it. That gives me so much joy and so much pleasure. And the third element that we need to examine to discover our purpose is our communities or our society, especially the needs that exist in our communities. For example, my community is my school. But for you, your community could be your family, where you work, or where you live, or even where you have fun. Right? You just need to find your community and try to figure out how you can contribute. What is the need of your community? How can you contribute to that community? For example, because my community is my classroom, in my university, especially in the business, and I bring my gift and my interest to serve my students. So for me, at the moment, my purpose for my life is to equip and raise next generation of faithful and ethical leaders. That is my purpose. Do you have a purpose? Purpose can make your life flourishing, and purpose can help you thrive in your life. So if you don't have a purpose, let me encourage you to find that guiding star in the horizon that can give you aim and that can help you thrive and that can help you strive. And also remember that purpose is not about yourself. it is fundamentally about serving others and making difference in the world. And lastly, purpose is not something that you just make up. Purpose is something that you discover by examining deeply who you are and how you are made. So ladies and gentlemen, let's unleash this power of purpose and make a difference for this beautiful Nusantara called Indonesia. Terima kasih.